This is the Clearpool slash ZBCN slash quant video. Okay, we're going to kind of connect with interoperability all three of these key things. And when you guys see the video on the chopped up version later, it'll be kind of one where it's all together, right? You'll see why. So first thing I want to get into is,
if managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
From Clearpool, believe it or not. Been a while since we shared some Clearpool. Let's first jump into this. And what do we have? Well, Clearpool has obviously a lot of announcements that's happened this year. Obviously, making their own blockchain is very bullish in itself. A lot of you guys are familiar with things like Arbitrum and whatnot. Say what you want. When a project starts off small and they do things like building their own blockchain, that's a major big deal moving forward. Well, in the citation, straight from Clearpool Finance, they mentioned Clearpool is more than just a token. It's the engine behind 5 live products driving the Clearpool and Ozean real-world asset ecosystems. Now, this is, of course, a thread, and you may not like some of it verbatim, but it's really good. So what's the driving force for Clearpool? What makes it so unique? Number one, Clearpool, dynamic pools, flexible, permissionless, lending pools. You know, I'll come back for a second. Some of you guys recently have asked me things like exit plans, what to do, and so on. Some of you guys already know what you may or may not do. But one thing that stood out to me, even about almost 4 years ago when it came to Clearpool, was you could put your stable coins to work. A lot of us are going to obviously swap to some stable coins and earn yields, right? And then just stake those stable coins and so on, because we feel as though that might be a safe play. Some people don't like the whole concept of staking. Hey, it's kind of mixed, but whatever the case be, what has always stood out to me is Clearpool is a platform that even right now you can stake those stable coins they're collecting dust on their particular platform. Now, is it ones that it's just like crypto dust? Not necessarily, but if you have anything of significance there, you might want to look into it. As you get into the whole entire deep dive, if you want to call it that, it says institutional borrowers access unsecured liquidity with interest dynamically rates adjusting, I should say. Over 620 in loans have originated across dozens of single borrower pools, of course, on ETH, Optimism, Polygon, and remember how I mentioned Arbitrum? They do have the whole thing of Mantle, right? And they even got the whole thing with Base. There's Clearpool Prime. Some of you guys wonder, does Clearpool have any ties to the institution? So it's institutional grade, permission DeFi marketplace. And again, it mentions those ones we just mentioned earlier, but they have total value locked of over 22 million. Clearpool Prime keeps gaining momentum, and it surpassed 160 million in total loans originator. That's pretty big. Now you have to keep in mind, if you're to go over to clearpool.finance, they will say because you're in the United States, you can't go over there and so on. Of course, not financial advice. You use a VPN and stuff like that. But I think after these things start to calm down, especially with the SEC, then your platforms like your Clearpools, you're going to be more than fine. All right. But there's opportunity here, of course. As I could take you further into this, I want to point out some of these other things. So you could deposit what's referred to as USDX backed U.S. Treasury bills. That's crazy, right? And of course, it's in the Clearpool T pool. And some of you guys are really bullish on Flare. You have this connection to Flare in the past. I cover this. Not a lot of people pay attention to it, and that's okay. But you can earn Treasury yield plus extra Flare rewards. The pool currently holds nearly 25 million, and users enjoy sustainable APRs with flexible deposits. Clearpool oracles, that's real time. Right? All right, I'm going to jump into this. CPOOL holders can stake to any oracle, helping secure the protocol and earn average APR 3.43%. Excuse me, 3.43%. Currently, over 157 CPOOL staked across all oracles, 157 million, I should say, with voting power capped at 15% per oracle. Ozean blockchain for real-world asset yield. Again, this is Clearpool's, newly formed blockchain. Join the pre-deposit campaign. Earn what's called Ozean droplets. Gee, I wonder who they took some of that, from. But anyway, if you want to earn some of these droplet points, you can have it boosted with referral bonuses, which will be convertible to CPOOL. Of course, that's Ozean's governance token. Again, I'm going to show some highlights about why CPOOL has always been the utility driver for Clearpool. Clearpool is now live on both Ethereum and Solana. So again, that's a huge catalyst, right? As the utility and governance token is at the heart of the Clearpool and Ozean ecosystem, CPOOL empowers a new era of real-world asset finance. Some of you guys asked me in DMs, you said, with this new blockchain for Clearpool, Ozean, what would happen to the CPOOL token? There's your answer. CPOOL is still the utility token behind Ozean. That's major, okay? So this is cool to see this. And again, bridging traditional markets and blockchain infrastructure. Sounds kind of familiar, does it not? But again, this is a very low market cap gem. And this was posted May 12th, today, my birthday. So earlier this morning. So you guys, we get the chopped up version, might be a little bit later. So when you go over to app.ozean.finance/earn, you can see how this all comes together. You can connect many different wallets if you choose to do so. But where the case be, just like they mentioned, you can see what's in total value locked. You can see, for example, what protocols are being used here, like Hex Trust, Ethena, Circle, Wrap BTC, so on and so forth. It's all here. Interesting even to see the whole thing of, maple, right? There's maple syrup, and that has, I guess, apparently an integration now with Clearpool. I always thought that was incredibly interesting. So what I want to do now is I want to take you over to here, and this is referred to as Ozean.finance. It says unlock yield opportunities. Some of you guys, this is right up your alley. So again, Wavemaker is Ozean's real-world asset accelerator. Okay, leveraging a curated network of service providers and institutions to launch assets on Ozean with expert guidance and investor connections. But on the right, again, like I was pointing out, CPOOL is definitely the utility token driving Ozean and Clearpool. It always has been and always will be. They're not going to turn their backs on it because that's, that was the culprit of it all, right? So this is so cool to see this. It's not dumping this whole thing. You're not going to the whole thing of, oh no, this is a V2, V3, blah, 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 or, V5 or, whatever. No, the CPOOL token has always been the utility token, not just for Clearpool, but also for Ozean. All right, let me take you further into this. There's another recent announcement, if you wonder how long ago. This was also May 12th, right? So CPOOL, more than just a token, engine behind 5 live products. And we talked about some of this stuff. The one I want to jump down to is actually this right here about Radium and Solana. Again, major announcements from Clearpool, and not a lot of people are paying attention to Clearpool. Honestly, hardly anybody is. Clearpool now live for trading on Radium protocol. Some of you guys are into Radium. I know you are. And then you can follow the contract address if you choose to do so. They say it's just the beginning, but now you can buy CPOOL even on Solana. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I know I mentioned the whole thing about quant, and I mentioned the whole thing, obviously, about ZBCN. So before we get into that, what I want to share with you is this. We know when it comes to ZBCN, build on Solana and whatnot, I think there's some kind of connection here. I really, really do. So I pull this up. I want you guys to see it for yourself. The partnership with Paimon Finance. Again, some of these players you probably never heard of. Leading DeFi platform on Binance Smart Chain, founded by who? Listen to this. Wall Street veterans. That in itself is very bullish. Democratizing top-tier investment funds with instant liquidity. Now, not a lot of people follow them, right? Again, you may have never heard of them. It says they enable on-chain access to institutional-grade private credit, including BlackStone's, have I not caught your attention on this one, $50 billion plus private credit fund, which is called BCred. Shout out to Rue Black. Him and I did a collaboration more than, I think, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times now. In the ZBCN community, we pointed out that connection of a key person from Brayer Capital, right? And the whole Zebec plug, all right? The plug was BlackStone and his experience with BlackStone. Then later on, we uncovered the whole thing of BlackRock. And in our opinion, while there's so much talk about your Ondos and so on, in reality, ZBCN is the only cryptocurrency, to our knowledge, we could be wrong, that you have the plug of BlackRock and BlackStone. But it's so interesting to see the common ground here of your Solana and also what you have, obviously, with BlackStone. Okay? It was really eye-opening. I'll show you why it's a little bit more eye-opening. Again, if you're a ZBCN holder, you may very well want to consider looking into Clearpool, okay? And I've covered I've done over 50 videos on Clearpool. I want to point this out. BlackStone, the world's largest alternative asset manager with over 1.1 trillion assets under management, consistently delivers strong performance through BCRED, its flagship private credit fund. The collaboration will launch the Paimon High Yield Token, which is HYD, Ozean, for example, and bring opportunities like BCRED exposure, of course, on Ozean. Exposure on Ozean, this is really bullish moving forward. Beyond private credit, according to the quotation, Paimon is pioneering real asset and secondary share tokenization. This includes an Airbus A320 and pre-IPO shares in SpaceX and Stripe. I have pointed out, and again, if you guys want to watch it, you're more than welcome to, how many times the old Max point out over-ledger integration with SpaceX and also the whole plug of Stripe. We've been there and done that. Yeah. Again, if this is not catching your attention, nothing will. With Addition Hedge Fund and private equity, strategies will be launched in 2025, says Guyan Liu of Paimon Finance. And of course, there's more. But again, this was only about 6 days ago this was posted. And for the most part, kind of flew under the radar. I mean, they did a decent amount of views on that. That's not the point. Here's the point. Again, when you get into this, Paimon Finance, Wall Street, veterans of Wall Street. Some of you guys are always asking, how in the heck do we take institutional grade Wall Street platforms that are very, very low market cap and plug them into DeFi? To me, this is already the answer. Again, when my XRPs were going way high and so on, and a lot of us were so glad we did the 10x, again, the one that did 25x for old Max, and for my friend over 50x because of his last position. There is so much here when it comes to Clearpool because it's always been, as I was referred to, as utility in motion now. It's not utility in motion for the future. I mean, yeah, it is because they're building out. But it's always been the now utility. You have VCs that literally need the platform. VCs have problem when it comes to gathering up like the collateral that's needed. They provide a solution for that. But to tie in the whole thing about Wall Street, I think is major. As we pull up more about this and why it matters to you, you will see here the whole concept of how it all comes together. 9 hours ago, posted from Paimon Finance, the launch announcement. They debut a high yield token, HYD, and it merges Wall Street grade private credit with DeFi. This is the bridge from that traditional market, everybody. They have a target APY of 10% plus via BlackStone private credit fund. My goodness. So it's safe to say that when you talk about what we found with ZBCN, which is bullish as all you know what because of BlackStone, BlackRock, but now you have this whole thing of Clearpool, because when we talk about our Ondos, we talk about our ZBCNs and so on, and it's always nice to reference what's going on with BlackRock and especially BlackStone. You got to give Clearpool their flowers on this one because, again, BCRED. This is basically your plug to Clearpool. And it apparently has always been that way, but again, it just doesn't get the attention. Let's get, again, a little bit more into this. So, key features: low volatility, institutional grade assets, transparency, live on Binance, subscriptions open for June 1st cohort, limited spots. All right, look more into it if you choose to do so. But what's written in the fine print, I think this is a good catch, is the bottom left. BCred delivers 10% historical annualized returns via high quality senior secured loans to 500 plus companies, uncorrelated to crypto or equities, with a greater than 3% max drawdown and institutional grade diversification. This defensive asset, once exclusive to institutional investors, is now tokenized by Paimon. My goodness. And to have the whole thing connected with Clearpool, are we not bullish enough on some of those key findings? Now, speaking of key findings, you guys know what I do. We get more into it. Paimon.finance points out this in their highlight. You see Goldman Sachs here. You see, for example, bottom left of the screen mentions led by Wall Street portfolio managers with 60 plus years working experience combined and 10 billion asset managers combined. You have your Goldman Sachs. You have, for example, JP Morgan. Heck, you even have a reference to CFTC here, UBS, Harvard University, MIT, and 100 plus billion combined assets under management just with them, not counting all the other discoveries we had about, for example, the 1 trillion assets under management with BlackStone. All right. Now, here's what's also good. And again, why I'm pointing out some of this stuff. Now, we just talked about Solana. Well, recently with the ZBCN, what do you have? Literally about, what time is it now? 4:06. So about 6 hours ago, excuse me. ZBCN had a new announcement. Zebec Cards Partnerships. Zebec times CLI app. We are teaming up with CLI A.I, an AI infrastructure project on Solana. Interesting. Empowering devs to deploy and scale AI agents autonomously. CLI supports lands on Zebec silver cards this week with a custom CLI debit card, of course, on the way. Now, some of you guys are already taking advantage of some of the other ones, right? Not necessarily this one, but the other ones that just came out last month. Shout out to Terrell, some of the other guys in the community, right? Now, here's what's, in my opinion, the smoking gun. Okay. If you go to Overledger, all right, what do we have? Well, we have this. How do you want to automate with the Overledger? Prompt, edit, and deploy AI agents that connect to Overledger in 2,500 plus apps in, of course, seconds. If you do a search and you type in AI agents, they have at least 13 integrations with AI agents. Obviously, Pipedream for devs. You have Agent X, which is a chatbot built for these specific platforms. You have AI Chatbot Hub, create no-code AI agents. You have Anchor Browser, a browser for AI agents. You kind of get the idea, but even this one, right? Human Layer, API, SDK, which means Software Development Kit, if you're wondering what that stands for. That enables AI agents to contact humans for feedback, input, and approvals. But even Hyperbrowser, some of you guys are familiar with that, especially if you're devs. Cloud browsers for your AI agents. It just gets better and better. Inferable open source platform for creating AI agents. Again, you get the idea, especially when it comes to Insight AI and the whole concept of what AI agents. All right. Just in case you never seen our other dives, in our discoveries, we found Overledger integration with ADP. And we know how big, everybody, ADP will be when it comes to payroll, right? And we already have Lisa Robbins, who sits with Zebec when it comes to her experience, obviously, with payroll. So to see this, again, pounds at home that much more about why people like myself and, Rue Black and so on, we will not stop talking about this Zebec thing. And again, that integration, that is a big find. Okay, check this out. Why is it a big find? It's payroll. Interesting to see this because today, May 12th, my birthday, 37 million in monthly payroll volume, 10,200 plus employees served, 9,581 cards issued across 97 countries. Card adoption continues to grow and payroll volumes remain strong to kick off May. Now, I realize Zebec is down for the day, but again, I can come to the conclusion that when we're talking about payroll, we're talking about AI agents. What about AI agents even mixed with the whole thing of payroll? So it's interesting to see these new announcements, but more particularly, it's really interesting to see how it all really truly comes together. And for me, how it all comes together is understanding what, everybody? It's understanding the key findings. And that basically is this. It's interoperability. All of these things talk to each other, whether it's Clearpool, quant overledger, integration with AI agents, integration with payroll, what Zebec brings to the mix, as far as their connections to obviously BlackStone, what Clearpool brings with their connections obviously with BlackStone. There's a bigger picture here. Both Clearpool and Zebec are two very slept on projects with very, very low market cap. Now, if you're an American and you're considering getting Clearpool, you go through Kraken. And what's the pairing with that? US dollars. So you actually spend US dollars, get on, Kraken, for example. If you want to use a hot wallet with that, you can mix it with, for example, Trust Wallet, right? And if you want to get it off the exchange, by all means, do so. And then on top of that, Zebec, you can get that, obviously, Uphold. I wish, BTCC had that. They don't. Maybe I'll try to reach out to them and see if they can get that on there. But I think these are some key findings, but it's just basically overledger. Every single time we look more into this, we can find some things about integration, especially when it comes to AI and these key things. And speaking of integration, I want to point this out. This video technically released an hour and 11 minutes ago. Maybe some of you guys are watching it. I will highlight that real quick on my channel. And I did a collaboration a few days ago. So basically speaking, here it is. Okay, breaking quant announces massive AI integration. Okay, and it's basically in, 2025, but it's the AI agents. In the thumbnail, you see Constellation DAG, you see Jasmine, and you see Hedera. It's what's indirectly being used, but what really stands out is your Hedera, your Constellation DAG especially, and you will finally see with proof why old Max here has been talking about quant and Jasmine for the longest time. Yes, I understand that specifically Jasmine went with Chainlink, and that's fine, but you'll see some proof there with the research about why that's big. So, I'll just give you a little heads up. It's called basically Whippy. All right. And you're going to see some real people with real business, with real visuals in the video of them using quant flow. Yeah, you heard me right. For their automation. It's absolutely massive. Not enough people were talking about quant with quant flow, but we have seen numerous examples now at the institutional grade scale of that. It's a major deal moving forward. And again, for me, it's just regulations have to be, maybe people call it the flip of the switch. It's definitely going to do something, in my opinion. If it doesn't, then I don't even know what to say. But I do feel as though that these are the major catalysts moving forward. But check out that video. Again, shout out to Channing Harrell. We did collaboration on that, and that's one of the latest that's in the recorded video content.